Here I am at the California African American Art Museum visiting the Dust My Broom exhibit. I have a direct quote from the museum's description of the exhibit, which states, "Dust My Broom explores the affirmation, continuity, and innovation of African American Southern vernacular aesthetics brought into the West through several waves of migration." The piece in front of me is an important work of art that examines the traditions of America's South. The work of art that I decided to conduct an art analysis on is Colored Awaiting by Roy Ferdinand. Roy Ferdinand was a self-taught artist born in 1959 in New Orleans. Much of his work focuses on impoverished neighborhoods and the drug epidemic of the 1980s and 90s. Colored Waiting was created in the 1980s during the Civil Rights era. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that we can see that the artist uses mixed media on poster board, and he uses watercolor and colored pencils and markers to create this work of art. The artist depicts a man waiting in front of what appears to be a bus ticket line. The man appears to be exhausted, yet hopeful that he will be able to purchase a ticket. Wherever he is off to, he must absolutely arrive. And we notice that here when zooming in on his face. His eyes appear to be weary, and he also appears to be hopeful that he will be called up next. Or maybe he's in a rush, or whatever the case may be. The California African American Museum has a description of this work that states, "He is dressed in an ill-fitting suit, which suggests his dire state, yet his posture and direct gaze show that he is determined." As we take a closer look at each of the elements in the piece, we can immediately notice the artist's use of line work. We've got horizontal lines on the buildings, there's some vertical lines depicting grass, and then we also have diagonal lines shown inside of the window. Taking a closer look at his suit, we notice that the artist uses the cross-hatching technique to depict texture. We also notice texture in a couple of other areas, such as the grass and the diagonal lines in the windows that create texture in the fabric of the curtains. As for color, lighter values are used to create a daytime scene. Taking a look over to the right, we notice multiple values of greens and browns that are used to create this realistic sort of nature feel. The colors of the entire piece are washed and they lack intensity. When we look at the man's skin, we notice that there are multiple shades of browns, and this creates contour. We can clearly notice bone structure. Ferdinand's attempts to create the illusion of 3D space, however, is not fully achieved, because we see that the picture, or the drawing, still appears to be flat. We notice a bit of space when observing the area to the right, where the road and the grass, and there's like a small house back there, are shown. Although the man's right foot appears to be preparing for movement, the work of art is still, and we can see that he's waiting to make that next step, or preparing to make that next step. When observing the proportions of the drawing, we notice that the man appears to be almost as large as the building that he stands in front of. We also can see that he appears to be greatly larger than the tree to the right of him, or to the left of him from his view. I think that the angles in which Ferdinand draws the man from creates proportions that are slightly off. On royferdinandart.com, they state, while he had a natural gift for revealing emotion and characters with a few pencil strokes, his formal skills are often imperfect. Yet his misrepresentations, tilted buildings, bodies slightly out of proportion, multiple vanishing points powerfully evoke a subject, New Orleans, that in his own experience was innately skewed and often morally off-center. I believe that the artist created this piece to portray the street life in which he witnessed and experienced in New Orleans during the 80s. He reveals the everyday struggles of the black man and how something as simple as needing to purchase a bus ticket was a battle. He also reveals the segregation clearly shown between the two lines. So as we don't see one for whites, but we see a sign down here that says colored waiting, which signifies that there were two separate lines. After doing a bit of research on Ferdinand's work, I came to find out that he was actually quite intrigued with the use of these street signs. In most of his works of art, he includes multiple street signs that are symbolic for something. This is an important work of art because it's an accurate representation of the battles that blacks had to face. And again, this is shown in all of Ferdinand's other works of art, if you ever have time to take a look. I have a quote from Dr. Andy Antapis of the Barristers Gallery, which states, "When our society can confront the iniquities we have visited upon the African American community, and when the African American community can confront the iniquities it has visited upon itself, then Roy Ferdinand's unsettling work will raise him to the rank of poet laureate." And that is my art analysis for Roy Ferdinand's Colored Waiting. Thanks for watching.